Is coming into the room. Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar, where we are focusing on the math of food, culture, community, and cooking. Today's webinar is going to have Spanish interpretation. So we ask that you find the little globe at the bottom of your screen and click the globe and choose the language, either English or Spanish, that you would like to participate in for today's webinar. Again, welcome to the Math of Food webinar. This is the second in our three-part series focused on how math is woven into the foods we cook, share, and enjoy with our families every day. So not only is this series informative, but it is also delicious. If you go to the next slide, Lori, we have a small reminder for everyone who is here today. Language interpretation for this webinar is available, so please select the language you would like to listen with. Otra vez, tenemos interpretación hoy. Entonces, por favor, seleccione el idioma que prefiere. And Lori, if you go to the next slide, we have a question to start us off with, which is, what's one math idea you notice when cooking or preparing food? And we were just talking about that earlier today. So in the text box, the chat box, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? And what's one math idea you notice when cooking or preparing food? Holly, I heard that you had a birthday in your house yesterday. What's one way food and math came into the party?
Oh, they did. My younger daughter's birthday was yesterday, and she specially requested wonton soup, which she often can't eat at restaurants because she's allergic to shrimp, but her sister doesn't eat pork, and so we made those by hand. And she's got amazing. She's some learning challenges, but she has amazing fine motor skills and also great visual spatial math. And so it's a little finicky. You have to fold that wonton wrapper in half so you don't get any leaks and it turns into a perfect triangle and then you fold the corners over. So we did that and we talked about how you just need a little small amount of filling, not a big amount of filling. And anyway, there was visual spatial math in there and in the math talk we used to describe it too. So it was definitely a fun family activity. I'll drop a little picture into the chat so you can see the end result, which are some happy kiddos, big kiddos.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. We have a great one from Amy Perry, who loves the discussion of quantities when preparing food. Um, Equipartitioning. Alyssa, I hope we hear more about that. So many good ideas, and welcome to everyone. So we have so many folks joining us today. So Lori, if you go to the next slide, this is just a little bit of a reminder. We are NAFSCI, and our mission is really advancing high impact policies and practices for family, school, and community engagement. And you'll see on the next slide that this webinar is being brought to you by the Center for Family Math. And our mission is really to unlock the power and joy of math through family and community engagement. On the next slide, what you're going to see is just a reminder to please select the language you would like to listen with. Por favor, seleccione el idioma que prefiere. So we're going to kick off on the next slide with just a little bit of an introduction from our wonderful sponsor for today's event, Dr. Lanisha Mickley Ridley from the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. This entire series is her brainchild. So, Lanisha, please say a few words about your work and our exciting recipe book that's in the works.
Thank you so much, Maggie and Holly. It's so great to be here today. The New Jersey Family Engagement Hub is New Jersey's statewide family engagement center. We're funded with a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. And the hub is a place where families and educators and community partners can come and find resources and tools that will help them create stronger partnerships for the purpose of strengthening student success. So we're here um, to all things family engagement, especially in the state of New Jersey. But this series, we have a partnership with the Center for Family Math. And one day, Maggie, Holly, and I were sitting on a call, and I said, you know, food is like the greatest equalizer ever. We all have to eat. And so why don't we talk about, you know, math and food? And it just kind of grew from there. So we hope that you all will enjoy the series. This is part two. But also from our conversations was, why don't we have a recipe book? And so we are launching as part of this series a recipe book that we're asking anyone and everyone to submit recipes. And in that submission, you will, you know, put your recipe, how math applies with your recipe, if it's an appetizer, a drink, a main dish, a dessert, whatever it is, please submit it, identify it. And we're about celebrating cultures and creativity and family traditions. So when you submit the recipe, you will be able to let us know, you know, if it's a family tradition, if it's something you do with your kids, you can identify that and also submit pictures so that we can have this as a fun, interactive tool that we use as an outgrowth of this. And our plan is to also print the recipe book and share it. So it will be also a digital version and also a printed version. And we hope that you guys will enjoy the series, and please feel free to submit your recipes. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Lanisha. This is wonderful. So as we start to think about today's webinar, that's focused on the connections among families, math, and food, when for those of you who joined us last time, you're going to remember that we really presented the family math core competencies, which on the next slide you'll see are a compendium of the knowledge, skills, and ways that family math professionals build meaningful partnerships with families around math. And these competencies we like to think about in four main categories: reflect, connect, collaborate, and lead. And with our friends from PBS SoCal last time, we really dove into how cooking is such an important area for family math because it anchors math in all of its domains and familiar ideas and experiences. So in today's webinar, we are going to take a look at some additional areas of the family math core competencies and explore how math exists in the everyday lives of families through cooking in really meaningful ways, and how community settings, specifically libraries and homes, can build partnerships and access to math with food and cooking as a foundation. So to do this, it is my pleasure to introduce a tremendously amazing set of presenters to our conversation today. From the Libraries Count Project, I'm delighted to introduce Alyssa Lang, who is director of the Early Childhood STEM Lab and the Center for Excellence in STEM Education, and a professor of early childhood education at East Tennessee State University. Bharat Mira, who is the EBSCO Endowed Chair in Social Justice and Professor in the School of Library and Informational Sciences at the at the University of Alabama. And it is also a real treat to introduce members of NAFSC's Parent and Family Leadership Council and Family Math Advisory Council, Bianca Scott, Julia Sosa, Laura Evans, and Lilia Perez, who will be sharing a bit about some of their favorite dishes and the way they see math within them. So I'm going to hand it over to Julia to start us off. Julia, can you take us to the kitchen table? What is your favorite dish and where do you see the math in it?
Thank you, Maggie. Hi, everyone. Yes, my favorite dish is the breakfast. I do waffles with my grandkids. Uh, we make, I involve them to the kitchen because I want them to learn how to cook and be independent. Plus, if there is something that we can take advantage, I make them to learn math, which I didn't have before. So now I want them to go with my grandkids. And the second one, the one in the middle, she loves to cook. So I take the advantage and she's always with me more than the other two. So I like the breakfast because it's the most important nutrition that we have in the mornings. And I have the opportunity to have a business too. So we'll learn how to make those waffles to sell to some other customers. But I don't do much at the business, but I'm doing at home. So I take my three kids and I involve them to count how many people we're in the family. So they run and count, okay, we're four or we're five. Okay, so how many waffles do we have to do? Then we count in, okay, let's go get the ingredients. And that's how I get the ingredients. I bring the eggs, I bring as much their age, I give them little responsibility. So my little, the 4 years, she just bring the dishes where we're gonna put and the spoons, how we're gonna collect. So they love, as you can see there, that I have a recipe with waffle that we can make different kind of flavor, just so you can eat it as a dessert or you can eat it as a food. And there is some uh, tips for you if you want to use dessert. So you can put the ingredients I put it there: strawberries, blueberries, some whipped cream. If you want, like as you're gonna eat as a food, I love avocado, so I always put avocado, cheese, and a little bit of salsa, and that's a full meal for you or a full breakfast. It's up to you how much you're gonna put. But the ingredients on the waffle is like 260 calories, so it's not that big. Anyone can eat and feel very satisfied. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Julia. I think I'm going to have some waffles after this. That sounds great. Thank you. And Bianca, we would love to hear about your dish as well.
Hello, everybody. Am I visible? Can y'all see me?
Yeah, we see you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. So, my dishes represent just a love of cooking that I developed from my grandfather, who was a Army trained master chef, who also opened a restaurant here in Orlando, Florida, back in the early 50s or 60s. My grandfather had a fourth grade education and went into the military, served the country, came out, and just continued with that passion. I lived with him from about the time I was 10 years old until I actually went into the Army myself. My grandfather could not cook in small numbers because he learned how to cook in the military for all the people. And so we both have this thing where we cook so much food and just have people over. My house was the community house when I was growing up. I think my favorite thing that my grandfather made for me was a steak and potato, which is that middle picture that is shown there. The picture on the left are oxtails that I learned how to cook from him. And then the picture on the right is flanken and looks like French fries and some coleslaw because we try to balance out protein, veggie, carb. I absolutely, absolutely love food. And if it hadn't been for my grandfather, I definitely would not have developed this love. I feel like our love language is cooking food for other people and having them enjoy food. My children's favorite thing right about now are the oxtails and the flanken. Again, my personal love is the steak and the potato. But I have a 5-year-old. Well, I have 6 children, ages 23 down to 5. And there's a 14-year gap between the 5 and the 19-year-old. So with Nyla, currently she loves to help in the kitchen and try to, Mommy, can I crack eggs and can I stir and can I help you? So we count out how many people we're serving. And let me tell you, the only time that my grandfather and or I could make cook in small numbers is when we were making something like a steak and a potato or a veggie, because then it was like one person per steak. So Nyla will count out how many people are home when we're cooking dinner and how many items we need when it's a potato. She will help me with rice by pouring things like the rice into the cup, and then we stir the 1 cup of rice or 2 cups of rice into the pot of this many cups of water. So we do measurements that way, but we almost always, unless it's a steak, we always, always, always have leftover. And so there's always room at my table. If you're ever in the area, please stop by and let us know, because you don't even have to let me know you're coming. There will definitely be more than enough food. Thank you,
Thank
Maggie.
Thank you for this, Bianca, and thank you for that warm invitation. I'll be hopping on a plane tonight. You'll see
Please,
me
please
a
do.
little
I
later.
promise. Please do.
Oh, well, this was wonderful. So we started off with some dishes, some great examples of how we see math at the kitchen table. So let's continue our community walk over to the library. I'm going to ask Alyssa and Bharat to present to us a little bit about their library's Count project and tell us a little bit about how food and math are becoming a staple at the library. Take it away, Alyssa and Bharat. Thank you.
Thanks, Maggie. You can go ahead to the next slide, please. And thank you, everyone else who's already shared. I love these stories. And, we started this work in the library. I come from education, from early childhood education, but we started this work at the library with Bharat, my co-PI on this project, where stories are happening, families are coming in, and amazing library staff are doing such important work in our communities every day. And this project was born, funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services, to empower library staff to feel more confident and competent and ready to provide services and programs for young kids and their families in math in the library, but also to give some ideas around how to support families of young children to do that in their communities, at home, in the supermarket, and so forth. So we're just going to share a little bit about Libraries Count the project, and then we'll show you a few examples from the program that do involve food as well. And we'll also show you how to hear first when it goes live. It will be available for free on Web Junction around August time. So go ahead to the next slide. So a quick question for you. This is a picture from actually a preschool teacher in her classroom where they were doing some math experiences. And I wonder what you see, what's the math you see this girl potentially doing with these snacks that she has? What could be the math that she's exploring? What is she practicing? Maybe some counting, maybe some grouping. Nice. Dividing, yeah, she could be taking that whole number and dividing it into two part whole relationships. Oh my goodness, adding, subtracting, division. Look at all that amazing math potential in a picture of snacks. So if you could go ahead to click down once, please. What this actually was a part of, but she could also be doing all that other math that you mentioned as well, was a number composition experience. And we can share that link in the chat if you're able. I believe it's available for free through our National Early Childhood Organization that describes what was happening with young children in math in a preschool classroom. However, you could see how all sorts of math could be happening just like this. And you already heard great examples today as well, um, at home, out at a restaurant, in the library as well. Go ahead to the next slide and I'll hand it over to Bharat.
What a privilege and honor it has been to be here at this meeting and hear some of the amazing stories that all of you are sharing. Thanks, Maggie, for inviting us here. And I'm privileged to have worked with Alyssa on this IMLS funded grant project where we are training librarians, especially public librarians, in developing training modules to support them as they engage with diverse families and their children in furthering teaching of math skills amongst their kids. And so the library is the place where we are having that as the center where all this happens in many ways. And so libraries, as many of you know, have been instrumental cornerstones of democracy and have been instrumental spaces where people come together, community learning, engagement, storytelling, access to knowledge and information, and people where they get together in dialogue and being able to apply their understanding of each other and their relationships to make the world a better place for all. And so here in our project too, we are recognizing libraries to be cornerstones of democracy and playing a significant role in community building and community development. We are also recognizing the elements of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility to be important threads that tie us all together, such as food, and such as in our project for training of for math education, EDIA aspects are instrumental in driving us and fulfilling the best of our potential and strengths. And that's why we talk about aspects of social justice to bridge the gaps between the haves and the have-nots in our intersectional society. So why would you think early math? And so early math, as many of you know, has been a discipline or an area of study which has not been considered to be part and parcel of everyday lives of people and how they relate to each other and how that builds their skills and their education levels and they build their lives and careers and everything else over and on top of that. So public libraries are the places where we have been involved in this 3-year project to make some of these things happen. Can I have the next slide, please? Thanks. And so here you can see aspects of EDIA in relation to our 10 modules: overview and introduction, early math, what, where, and why in libraries. What do we mean by DEIA? How is it connected with libraries? Where does counting and numbers come in? Where does geometry come in? Where does measurement, operations, patterns come in? And then we have these modules which ties it all together. And so beyond, just as with food, beyond the surface, there are ways that we are trying to draw attention to aspects of making ourselves more resistant to some of the political, social, cultural, economic aspects of everyday realities, dysfunction, and more that we are encountering in today's world. And similarly with math, similarly with food, similarly with communities beginning to understand each other better, and similarly with places of libraries as institutions to make that happen. Can I have the next slide? Thanks. So here is one of the modules focuses on EDI. And then, of course, we also disseminate aspects of DEI matters throughout each of the topics. But here in this module, you can see how you define diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and social justice as applicable to the librarian's effort to support programming of early math for diverse families with young children. Evaluate how the concepts of DEI and social justice can be integrated into the librarian's efforts to support programming of early math for diverse families with young children. Next slide, please. Thanks. So here there are just a little glimpse. We want to whet your appetite to what is to come in the entire libraries count training modules. But here you can see, for example, some EDI related topic concerns represented in each of the modules. So, module 5, for example, are numbers. Families of intergenerational background or those who speak a language different from English compare the way to call numbers in English and in their own language. Here, the underlying topic that gets asserted is asset framing, that each one of us has our own strengths and our own assets that we acknowledge and recognize in order to build our ties and connections together. Similarly, Module 8, operations. In designing activities with diverse groups, ask questions like, what can we do with them to understand operations? How can these activities be connected to their values and their daily lives? Visit a grocery store or walk in the park with their child. So, here, the underlying message is shifting the narrative and engaging in a participatory way with people who we are supposed to provide services for, that is, our patrons. Next one, inclusion. For example, in the module of measurement, design activities where children have a direct experience using elements from their different backgrounds, such as mark your height against a door jamb. And accessibility, for example, in geometry, activity of placing block figures in an opaque bag and let your children feel the shape and identify with people who might have sight or motor limitations. So here you can understand the aspects, attributes of human beings as holistic beings, and we need to acknowledge and value each other in all those different dimensions. Next slide, please. And so here, this is the last slide on looking at the topic of food in relation to providing opportunities to users to relate examples from their everyday lives about math, food, and social justice. So, for example, in the module 5 for counting, what kind of ingredients are available at the local Walmart compared to the ethnic grocery store to help you prepare fruits from all around the world? Bok choy, for example. What factors might have played a role? Climate, geography, economy, politics. Inclusion, Module 9, patterns. Who is excluded and who is included? What types of restaurants are available in your neighborhood or city? Why and why not? Diversity, Module 7 in measurement. Spices mix and play. Try mixing different types of spices you are not familiar with in preparing recipes of foods you are familiar with. Note your observations of what worked and what did not work. Accessibility, for example, in the module on geometry, activity of feeling the shape of fruits and vegetables with eyes closed to identify with people who might have sight limitations. Activity of tasting uncooked food, such as spices, with eyes closed to identify with people who might have sight limitations. And this reveals aspects of questioning food preparation, ingredient availability, cultural biases and preferences, knowledge and awareness of global foods or not, and many other aspects that you can, of course, draw attention to. Thanks. Next slide.
Thank you, Bharat. And now I want to show you a few examples from the Libraries Count program itself. The first example comes from number operations. So we might see children playing with what are called number bonds with cookies. So beginning to think about number composition and decomposition, kind of like the other example I showed from a preschool classroom. Where could we explore groups of numbers and how they fit together and can be broken apart every day in our kitchens, like you were sharing before with your own families? So that's one example that comes from Libraries Count. Go ahead to the next slide, please. Another example that's already built into Libraries Count are two-dimensional shape constructions. So we're excited to support library staff and families to encourage children to talk about the attributes of shapes. So how many sides does it take to make a triangle? Do they all have to be connected? How can we find out? Did we make a square? Did we make a triangle? And we can all be encouraging that rich conversation and language using what we're already working with. In this case, some pretzel sticks Um, and this is yet another example within Libraries Count program. Go ahead to the third example, please. And then another example we have built in to Libraries Count is a module on how to reach out and raise up families and their strengths. Your group is already doing this amazing cookbook idea. That's a great example of raising up the existing strengths, values, skills, and cultural foods of all sorts of families. And so in our families module, we talked to library staff about sort of reimagining the ecology of where math learning happens. And the Center for Family Math is already saying this, so we're just saying it too. Where's the math? All over, right? The local restaurant, grocery store, your kitchen, the library. So we hope through the Center for Family Math and through Libraries Count and all the great work you're all doing as well, that we'll be a part of this movement to expand how we think about where math learning is possible with young children. Next slide, please. So lastly, you're welcome to sign up in a short survey with your name and email, and we will share when Libraries Count goes live. It will be available for free on WebJunction, and I can put that link to WebJunction in the chat, but it's not quite ready to go live yet. If you're interested in hearing when it goes live, please feel free to sign up at that link. And another opportunity is we are really thinking this year about what's next for Libraries Count, and we'd love more partners, family members, educators, researchers. Our 10-state team has been amazing, and we'd love to hear from more of you. So please do sign up if you're interested in hearing more, as well as connecting with our other offerings through EC STEM Lab. We actually have a Families with STEM and Literacy workshop coming up. So thank you so much again for the invitation and for sharing and allowing us to be a part of this.
Thank you so much, Alyssa and Bharat. This was an amazing way to think about the ways that libraries are a critical partner for us in family and community engagement, and especially related to mathematics and bringing new ideas for food and cooking. And just, Bharat, I loved when you said we wanted to whet your appetite, and your framing of how to include social justice as an aspect of this is really just so powerful. We want to take a trip back from the library, back to some kitchens. So I'm going to ask Laura to share one of her dishes and the ways that she sees math existing in the cooking with her family. Laura, take it away.
Hi there, everybody. Greetings from Mississippi. And I wanted to share, and I'm so glad I was able to find this picture of me and my grandma. Grew up in the Mississippi Delta, and one of the favorite memories, so it's not just necessarily a dish, but it's a great memory and a favorite time that I spent with my grandmother. She and my grandfather had 17 children. Yes, that's a real number. And lots of grandkids always in the house. And what she did to make everything special for our birthday, we were able to go to the store. Even though she made everything from scratch, she allowed us to purchase a box of cake mix. So that gave us the opportunity not only to bake our own birthday cake, but to read a recipe, to count. It also taught us patience. So I'm not sure if everybody remembers when we used to have the timers that you had to wind up and you had to wait. We actually used that timer. So we got the opportunity to cook our cake, to mix our cake, to prepare our layers, to count whether it was 2 or 3 layers, to count the eggs, to use measuring cups. So that was a great opportunity to incorporate family and math in a dish, and also just learning patience. So, with 17 kids and numerous grandkids, and even we'd have a little leftover of that cake to use in our easy bake oven. I'm not sure if everybody remembers those days of the easy bake oven. So, we had a little small layer that we could do in the easy bake oven, but we also learned how to make our frosting from scratch. So, in addition to the times and the great times with my grandma, my mom allowed me to use her favorite cookbook to cook some recipes, not just day-to-day recipes, but she entrusted me to cook on holidays as a 12 or 13-year-old child. So we were a family of seven. Sometimes the recipes were for four. So we had to learn how to double recipes, to half recipes. So those fractions and learning fractions came into play. And I need I mentioned math was my favorite subject, so that's where my undergraduate degree lies. So I got a chance to practice to say, oh yeah, now we need only half of this, or I need to double this, or how is this gonna work? Looking at measuring cups, counting eggs, counting the ingredients. So we had to learn, we incorporated reading, we incorporated fractions, we incorporated counting, we incorporating the timer and patience. So I just like to share not only a favorite recipe, but a favorite time, a favorite memory with me and my grandma and my family. Thank y'all also so much for listening in and taking a part of my memory.
Laura, thank you so much for that. I love the picture of you and your grandma. You're getting a lot of love in the chat box too, especially for the Easy Bake Oven. And now I would like to present our last kitchen dish. We have Lilia, who's going to present to us a little bit about tamales. And I would love to remind everyone that Lilia is going to present in Spanish. So if you'd like to hear the translation, please make sure you click the little globe at the bottom of your screen and choose English as your language so you can listen in. Lilia.
Ok, gracias, gracias. Buenos días. Yo sé que son tardes para algunos de ustedes. Sí, es muy bonito ver cómo podemos trabajar con las matemáticas en casa. Es muy emocionante saber que todos podemos compartir y principalmente cuando estamos haciendo alguna celebración o estamos haciendo algún evento. Me voy a enfocar ahorita en el Día de Reyes, que regularmente y tradicionalmente cuando partimos la rosca de Reyes se parte en partes y sale el monito, que es el niño Dios, que para nosotros significa mucho. Todos planificamos hacerlos el día de Candelaria. El día de la Candelaria es día de los tamales. Entonces en ese día vamos, compramos primero que nada, organizamos el día, vamos, compramos los materiales, que en este caso son todas las piezas de pollo, las piezas de carne, de puerco o si vamos a hacerlas de queso. Llegamos, empezamos, organizamos el momento y es lo que así como empezamos. Empezamos a cortar el puerco, piececitas y a cocerlas. Los niños aquí también están contando los chiles, porque también se cuentan chiles, los tomatillos, parte a parte lo van haciendo. Entonces, después cuando estamos en la acción, empezamos con cuántos tomatillos se llevaron, cuántos chiles cocieron, cómo lo vamos a hacer y a preparar. Vamos a empezar con la masa. Entonces empezamos haciendo la masa contando con tazas. ¿Cuántas tazas de harina vas a poner en la olla, en el sartén? ¿Cuántas tazas de manteca lleva? ¿Cuántas porciones o cucharadas de pollo para hornear se le ponen? Y vamos en porciones de caldo de pollo, también en tazas. Y empezamos a mezclarla. Ya que la tenemos toda mezclada, y así es como empieza las manos de todos. Empezamos a contar las hojas, empezamos a contar las bolitas y principalmente me gusta que los niños tengan estas actividades porque es una manera de refrescarle su cabeza y su mente en español. Porque yo tengo aquí la tradición que en casa se aprende español y en la escuela se aprende el inglés. Entonces es por esa razón que aquí los tengo contando del uno hasta los que vamos contando en español. ¿cuántos tamales hicimos ese día? El niño lo grabé en un video, le dije, ¿cuántos vamos a hacer? Dijo, aproximadamente unos 50 salen de aquí, unos 50 tamales o 50 bolitas. Pues le salieron 63 bolitas, entonces más o menos hizo hasta un cálculo. Entonces, una manera de poder hacer los tamales al terminar. Les dije cómo les fue. Muy bien, quedaron deliciosos nuestros tamales. Entonces, es cuando los puse, pónganse a probarlos, a ver cómo quedaron. Y aquí está el resultado. Pero ¿cómo lo defino yo? Es que las matemáticas se llevan todo, principalmente cuando estamos trabajando y colaborando con los más pequeños en casa, que recuerden que las matemáticas se llevan todo, especialmente cuando estamos en la cocina o también cuando andamos en la calle. Ok, pues la proclamación a mí me nominaron Mujer del Año en el 2021. La ciudad de Fresno me declaró mi día, es el día de hoy, hoy es mi día. Es el en la proclamación en el año 21 y se me declaró este día precisamente hoy 18 de marzo. Es Mujer del Año, Día de Lilia Becerril, está nominado aquí en la ciudad de Fresno, es día mío, se puede decir así, nominación. Me siento muy contenta, muy agradecida porque soy, como me dijeron ahí en la ciudad de Fresno, eres la primera inmigrante que eres nominada como Mujer del Año. Entonces me siento muy contenta ya que basado a esto, eh, yo le pregunté al concejal o a los concejales por qué lo hacían y dijo, porque miramos tu trabajo arduamente que haces no solamente por tu casa, sino por la comunidad, en la educación, que estás involucrada en todo. Entonces, ese es para mí un orgullo decir que hoy es mi día. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Lilia.
Gracias.
Gracias, Lilia, por todo, porque es increíble. And, to have you here on your day is just amazing.
Ujú.
Thank you. I would love to invite
Gracias.
all of the panelists, Alyssa, Barat, Julia, Laura, Bianca, Lanisha, all of you back on screen because Holly and I, would just love to engage in a short conversation with our limited time left, just to hear a few more of your thoughts. Holly, I'm going to pass it over to you with a few questions.
Thanks, Maggie, and thank you everyone for your beautiful stories and presentations and resources. I just have this warm feeling in my heart right now from, and one of my questions is, I just wonder what it's like for you, especially for our parent leaders and for your kids and grandkids, what that feeling is when you're cooking together and math is connected to food and meals and traditions, and how you may contrast that with other feelings and experiences of math. We had this webinar just a few weeks ago on math and its connection to feelings. And I just think that this topic today is really a lot about reorienting to feelings of connections and positivity and meaning around math, and that I'm really curious about your own experiences with that.
Well, I can go first. This is Julia. I think playing and learning, it's very fun, not only for kids, it's for us too. And for me, especially in the mornings when everybody get up and is hungry and we're gonna prepare the day, what is gonna come ahead. So to be there learning when they learn the math, when somebody say wrong, the account or some ingredient that this is going first and the other one gonna correct. So it's collaborating and they're learning how to share and how to support each other. So for me, that feeling and to have my grandkids, to have the time to join with them because I work Monday through Friday. So weekends, it's, when you give them quality time and you're learning and you're having fun and you're gonna eat, it's amazing. That day is gonna go good, great for them and great for me too, because they're gonna be full stomach. Then we can do another things. So it's amazing to see how three of them can collaborate, can support each other, can learn, and then how they can one correct the other one, and the little one try to learn, try to be more smart than the other one. And that bonding that we're creating between them, it's just amazing.
I'll jump in. This is Bharat, and for me, I grew up in India, and so as a part of a low middle class family, my father actually was a cook, and then grew up the ranks to become a manager and a general manager at a restaurant and hotels. And cooking was part and parcel of his ethics and his value system and inspiration to learn, get educated, get a job, etc. And on the other hand, my mother was complimentary. At that time, she was just a housewife, but the amount of love and devotion and everything else that she put of her life into the family, into the children, was has always been inspiring in terms of how she knew how she learned how to cook, how to be able to feed the family, put something on the table from minimal amount of resources available and whatnot. So of course, for better or for worse, they have been inspiring figures in one's life, and it connects all to family and food and community and finding your wealth, your worth and well-being in different ways. So I'm fortunate to be here. Thanks.
Hi, this is
Hey.
Laura. I just wanted to chime in just briefly, following up on that question. Not only does it provide an opportunity for collaborating with like my cousins or my children, it also shows kind of a healthy competition. And I think that's important because a lot of us, there was this sibling and cousin type rivalry. Well, who was number one? So, who's the favorite? I hate to use that word, but well, who had the best cake? We could have like a tasting competition as well. So, I think it also provides an opportunity for everybody to pick their favorite dish, to prepare their favorite dish, and to have like a test tasting. So that would be great to come out of that.
I can add one more comment from the library side. I think so, a lot of the joy I've seen working with library staff and families as a part of Libraries Count is food is a part of everyday life. I think you said that at the beginning of this webinar. And so kind of these aha moments with the adults and young children's lives have happened a lot. So there's math in on the library stacks on the shelves, So I think families and library staff seeing the potential all around them to engage every young learner in math, I think has been a really lovely feeling for them too.
Great, thank you. And I know Lilia's had her hand up. Marisa, like, help us.
Sí, bueno, para mí la experiencia más que nada es mirar que mis nietos son varoncitos y es una de las cosas que tenemos que mirar que hoy en día no importa qué sexo tengas para poder hacer la cocina. Entonces, en ese caso, pues mi yerno fue el que me dijo, oye, pero suegra, pero mis niños no me los ponga a cocinar, ellos son hombrecitos. Le digo, no importa, ellos tienen que aprender el día de mañana. Ya hoy en día la ciencia ha cambiado mucho. Hoy en día tanto hombre como mujer trabajan y tanto hombre como mujer tienen el derecho a cocinar. Así es que ellos van aprendiendo desde ahorita a cocinar. El día de mañana le van a ayudar a su esposa, le dije quizás, pero para mí esa es una experiencia bonita mirar que los niños quieren aprender cosas de la cocina. Entonces, para mí es una experiencia bonita ya que no la tuve la oportunidad de hacer esto con mis hijos. Entonces, a hoy me estoy, como dijo Julia, en los fines de semana, yo a mí todos los días Julia me los trae en la tarde. Yo los cuido todas las tardes. Es una manera de salir a caminar, a hacer rutina, cuántos pasos damos, cuántos caminadas damos, porque los saco a caminar conmigo. Y esa es una manera de que estamos contando también afuera en la calle, como dije hace ratito. No nomás se cuenta en la cocina, se cuenta en todas las actividades del día, se hace matemáticas en familia, y principalmente hoy en día con los nietos.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing those ideas. I think we have time for one more question. And if it's okay, I might ask this of Bharat and Alyssa, because I know that as part of developing Libraries Count, you had a big co-construction process where you really brought the voices and the experiences of families into the development of your curriculum and program. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looked like and what form that process took?
Yes. We had family members as a part of our co-development team across the whole project. Um, However, we also had to change our plan because we wanted more family voices than the two, maybe two or three we had, in addition to lots of library staff. And so what we did was think flexibly and ask our library staff partners to ask the families who came to their libraries what they wanted in early math, what they already do. So we found another way to reach families and include their voices, um, even beyond what we had originally planned. And that was very powerful because we got a view into many different contexts across these 10 states.
Yeah, and I would add that, I mean, that I agree with Elisa that the effort of snowballing, that we had networks with people in the library world. And so we got them to connect us with their own family patrons and others who are part of their circles. And they're part of their, who are already coming to the library, some new as well. And so the element of diversity was key here, especially for rural areas, people who are non-traditional families, people speaking different languages. We tried to kind of be able to have include them and as much as we could with through our networks, and hope in the next iterations and versions of the grant we would continue to get more and more uh, all kinds of people, irrespective of who they are.
You. So I think this has been our taste of math across the community. As we close our conversation for today, I just want to give so much thanks and appreciation and gratitude to all of our presenters here today. All of these stories have really been a tremendous opportunity to not just think and talk about what math looks like in our cooking or in our food preparation, but really to see it and feel the love of it. So thank you for bringing these examples and illustrations. On the next screen, you're going to see a short invitation to take our survey. I just put a link in the chat box. We would love your feedback on your impressions of this webinar so that we can continue to grow and improve. On the next slide, you're also going to see a link again to our Math of Food recipe book that Lanisha talked about at the beginning of this webinar. All of these stories, from cooking cakes with Laura, tamales with Lilia, steak and potatoes with Bianca, or even waffles with Julia. These are all the types of stories we want to hear about. No food is too big or too small, but we are so excited to see what's been coming in so far to create a National Center for Family Math, New Jersey Family Engagement Hub recipe book. So please submit and share with your networks. We'd love to have as many submissions as possible. And on the next slide, you will see a little QR code that if you are interested in continuing this conversation in person, our National Assembly registration is now open. Please join us October 26th and 27th virtually and October 28th through 30th in person in San Diego, where I'm sure we can all find some more delicious food. And finally, if you are not a member of NAFSCI, we would love to invite you to join to become a member. You get all of these webinars archived for free, although this one will also be posted on our Center for Family Math website. So and then the last slide, probably the most important for us to think about, or if you go back, Lori, I might have skipped over us. Our last webinar in the series is on April 1st, and this webinar is going to be provided by Robin Palmer from Arizona, who is going to share with us tips for looking for math in supermarkets, grocery shopping math, where we're going to look all the way across the developmental spectrum, from how to count objects to look at unit rate, to thinking about derivatives when it comes to checkout lines. So join us for that. So until then, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're the Center for Family Math, and thank you to Alyssa, Barat, Lilia, Julia, Laura, Bianca, and Lanisha for being here with us today. It's been wonderful. Take care, everyone. Bon appetit.